And Oscar, he didn't shy away from the nickname. He embraced it. He even hung a sign near Old Alton Bridge that read, "This way to Goatman's farm." He was proud, honest, and successful. Have you ever heard of Goatman's Bridge? If not, it's okay. I actually never heard of Goatman until I moved to Texas. Then when I moved even further north in Texas, I realized just how close the bridge actually is to me. So of course, I had to go there and see for myself. Is Goatman real? Are the legends true? And if you have heard of Goatman's Bridge, I recommend you stay for the entirety of the video because we have some seriously scary encounters. Before we get into the paranormal encounters, let's talk about the history of Goatman's Bridge. The legend of the Goatman. Who was he, really? See, I've heard the stories, I've researched the history, but there's something different about actually being there. Standing on Goatman's Bridge, the weight of its past feels heavy. The air is thick, the woods feel too quiet, and even though I wasn't alone out there, at times it kind of felt that way. This isn't just some old Texas landmark, it's a place with a dark history. I mean, this place is haunted. But how did this quiet bridge become one of the most haunted locations in Texas? Who or what is the Goatman? And why do so many visitors, including myself, leave feeling like something was watching us? Before Goatman's Bridge became what it's known for, there was a man, a farmer, a husband, a father. He wasn't a ghost or a monster. Well, not at first. They say his name was Oscar Washburn, a black goat farmer, who by all accounts asked for nothing more than a quiet life near the banks of the Trinity River. He was known in the nearby towns for the goats he raised, strong, healthy animals with coats so fine, even neighboring farmers took notice. Over time, people began calling him the Goatman, not as an insult, but as a mark of respect. And Oscar, he didn't shy away from the nickname. He embraced it. He even hung a sign near Old Alton Bridge that read, "This way to Goatman's farm." He was proud, honest, and successful. But in 1930s Texas, that kind of pride was dangerous for a black man. The story goes, some of the local Klansmen didn't like that Oscar had carved out a living for himself. They didn't like the sign, they didn't like the pride, they didn't like his goats. So one night, they made a plan. A hateful, disgusting plan. They stormed his property, dragged him from his home in the dead of night, and brought him to the bridge. There, they put a noose around his neck and threw him off the side. But when they looked down, he was gone. There was no splash, no struggle, no body. Terrified that he had somehow escaped, they turned back toward his home, and in a final act of rage, they burned it to the ground with his wife and children still inside. From that night on, the whispers began. People started seeing red eyes glowing in the woods, hearing hooves that didn't belong to any farm animal. Some swore they saw a half-man, half-goat figure standing in the shadows, watching, waiting. But others, they believed it was something else, that Oscar never truly became a monster. He became something more. A spirit fueled by pain, by injustice, by vengeance, a soul so wronged it refused to rest. And even now, long after the bridge has rusted, long after the signs have faded, his name still lingers in the dark. Oscar Washburn. Some even report hearing the desperate cries of his lost family, carried on in the wind. And to this day, Goatman still waits for those who dare to cross his bridge. Some places have stories, but Goatman's Bridge, it has rituals. There's apparently 2 different rituals on how to get Goatman's attention. I, being the paranormal enthusiast, tried one. I never actually heard of the second ritual, but now that I know about it, I think I have to go back and try it out for myself. Let me tell you about the knocking ritual. So this one is extremely simple, but very dangerous. What you have to do is be on the bridge at exactly midnight. You must be completely silent. No laughing, no talking, not even a whisper. Walk to the center of the bridge. Knock on the wooden railing 3 times. Then wait. Some say you'll hear footsteps. Others claim to hear a low growl from under the bridge. And a few have reported seeing glowing red eyes watching from the woods. If you do hear something, do not knock again. I'm telling you, don't do it. Because that, my friend, is considered an invitation. And although it sounds fun to have a conversation with Goatman, I just don't think it's a great idea to invite him over for some dinner. But do with that as you will. Now, here is ritual 2 that I've personally never tried before, but 2 of my friends have. And you'll want to stay tuned until the very end of this video to hear their terrifying encounter. So this one is called the horn summoning. I kind of just made that up. We're just going to call it the horn summoning. So what you're going to do is you're going to park your car near the bridge, windows rolled down. Now mind you, there's no way to actually drive up right onto the bridge. The parking lot is close enough. Just keep that in mind if you're going to go visit Goat. Alright, so now that your windows are rolled down, you need to turn off your headlights and sit in complete silence for 5 minutes. After that, honk your horn 3 times. No more, no less. You're supposed to ask out loud, "Is anyone there?" Or simply, "Goatman, show yourself." The area may go strangely quiet, like the night is holding its breath. Some say they've heard hooves on pavement. Others have had their electronics fail immediately after. One phone in particular went to static and never turned on again. Coincidence or something else? So a few years back, my friends and I decided to try the midnight knock ritual at Goatman's Bridge. There were 4 of us, quiet, nervous, and more than a little skeptical. We got there just before midnight. We waited until the trail cleared out and walked slowly to the center of the bridge. The air felt heavier out there, like something was watching, but we didn't see anything, just the darkness stretching out on either side. At exactly midnight, we knocked. Once, twice, 3 times. And then we waited. And waited. No footsteps, no growling, no red eyes, just silence. But even though nothing happened, I won't lie, every one of us was terrified. Not because of what we saw, but because of what we thought might happen. That tension, that feeling that something was just about to step out of the shadows, it never went away. So maybe the Goatman doesn't respond to a knock, or maybe he was watching, deciding we weren't worthy of his time. 4 of us alone on that bridge at midnight, hearts pounding, nerves frayed. We followed every step of the ritual exactly, and even though nothing physically happened, the fear, that was very real. But here's the thing, ours wasn't the first attempt to summon something on that bridge. Because before Interscare's channel ever existed, he and Mrs. Interscare were out there too. And when they tried the second ritual, the one involving a horn honk, and a little provoking, something happened that no one could explain. Their story still gives me chills. Let me tell you what happened that night. They got to Goatman's Bridge around 8 p.m. The sun had just dipped below the trees, and the last few trail walkers were making their way out. For a moment, everything felt normal, quiet, uneventful. But they weren't there for a walk. They were there to try to call on the Goatman. They followed the rules they could find online, said Goatman 3 times, walked back to the parking lot to honk the horn, asked aloud if anyone or anything was there. But for a long while, nothing happened. The air was still. That's when one of them, wanting to provoke a reaction, began yelling into the darkness, cursing, mocking, calling out to whatever might be listening. And something was. They began hearing noises from beneath the bridge, faint scuffling, then something heavier, dragging. They crept closer, but when they looked under the bridge, nothing. Just dirt, shadows, and silence. Maybe an animal, they thought. A squirrel or raccoon. That's when Mrs. Interscare looked down at her phone. The screen had gone completely to static, like an old TV with no reception. No apps, no lock screen, just flickering gray and white noise. They tried everything, holding the power button, force restarting it, swiping at the screen, but nothing worked, and it never worked again. The phone perfectly fine before that moment, was dead. There wasn't any water damage, it didn't fall, it was just done. Now, they weren't live streaming that night, so there's no footage to prove what happened, but they both remember every moment, and the only explanation they've ever been able to settle on, something out there heard them, and then something answered. And whatever it was, it did not want to be recorded. So why does Goatman's Bridge draw so many people in? Maybe it's the legend itself about a man who was lynched on his very land, a goat farmer, or perhaps a demonic entity masquerading as one. The stories change, but the fear stays the same. And then there are the rituals. Knocking on the bridge at midnight, honking your horn 3 times and calling out. They all follow the same idea. You make contact. You invite something in. Whether it's electromagnetic interference, strange sounds beneath the bridge, or phones that never work again, the encounters people describe are real to them. And sometimes the scariest part isn't about what shows up when you call. It's what follows you home after. So with my experience, all in all, we left that night with more questions than answers. There were no screams, there were no shadows, just a silence that felt too heavy to be empty. Maybe Goatman didn't show himself because he didn't need to. Maybe he was already with us. And I've got a feeling, next time, he won't be so quiet. So, if you ever visit Goatman's Bridge, remember, legends are born from fear. But rituals are how we feed them. Have you ever visited Goatman's Bridge? Let me know in the comments below. And be sure to follow for more eerie tales and legends.